What's up, everybody? It's your girl Lynette. Y'all ain't seen me in the kitchen in a good little while. It's not that I ain't been cooking, I just ain't been talking to y'all while I'm cooking. But I'm gonna do some chicken and dumplings. It's cold here in VA and everybody has been asking me when you gonna make chicken and dumplings. So I'm gonna take some to work tomorrow. These are not gonna be homemade. These are gonna be the quick, fast, and in a hurry chicken and dumplings. But I'm gonna give you the secret of how to make them taste like you've been cooking them for like a day and a half. All right, let's get into it. I'm gonna show you what you need, okay? You need 2 cans of biscuits. Make sure that they are the buttermilk kind. Do not get the flaky. You're gonna need margarine, butter, whichever one you prefer. I actually prefer butter, but margarine will do. And for the sake of this being quick, I'm not gonna boil my own chicken. I'm gonna go ahead and use the Tyson's oven roasted diced chicken. 1 can of cream of chicken soup, 2 cans of chicken broth, and some green peas, and then I have a container full of white flour. So let's go ahead and get into it. So in here I'm bringing to a boil the chicken broth and the cream of chicken soup. So while that's coming to a boil, I'm going to go ahead and start working on what will be the dumplings. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to start taking these biscuits. And what I do is I put them in the freezer just like this for like 10 minutes because it's easier to cut them. Okay, so what I'm going to start doing is I'm going to cut each individual biscuit into 4s. And the reason that I put them into the freezer is because it makes them harder so that they're not so gooey and doughy when you cut into them. I actually prefer using kitchen shears, but I cannot find my kitchen shears at the moment. So it's not a big deal, but it's actually easier. But you see how easy it is to cut through them when they're, you know, a little colder than normal refrigerated temperature. Okay, now that I've cut up both cans, I'm just gonna start dropping these into flour. And I'm trying to separate them because the flour is gonna keep them separated, and it's also gonna make the thickening for the actual roux for the dumplings. And what I do is I start dropping them into a strainer, and I'll show you why in a few minutes. Okay, now that I have all of my biscuits covered in flour, I'm just simply going to shake off as much excess as I can. You can actually do this by hand, but it's much easier to do when you put it into a strainer. Okay, now that this has come to a boil, what I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the heat back down to probably about, on my stove, probably about a 3 or 4. And this is when I'm going to start dropping the dumplings in. You notice I have not seasoned anything because I'm using all processed stuff. It has a lot of salt in it altogether, and the chicken is actually already seasoned. So you actually will do a lot of your seasoning afterwards. So you'll start dropping them in random places. And what I usually try to do is I'll do like 1 can, give it a rest, and then I'll drop the other. Wherever you see an open spot, that's where you drop, because they're starting to puff up like little pillows. Okay, now that I've got about half in there, I'm going to stop drowning them down in that mixture. And then I'll continue on and put the others in there. You see, the reason for me dropping them in random places is so that they won't stick together when they're starting to puff up. So we'll let that go at it for probably about 10 minutes. Okay, it's been about 10 minutes, and y'all see how these have puffed up and everything? I can actually give them a whirl now because they've puffed up. Now what I'm gonna do is the chicken, the Tyson's chicken that's already pre-cooked. The only thing I've done was thaw it out, and I've broken them up into probably about half the size they are because they were pretty big chunks, which they usually aren't. But it just depends on how you like it. We don't like shredded chicken in our chicken and dumplings. We like chunks of chicken. So I'm just going to go ahead and dump that in there. It's going to begin to start looking like something. still gonna let this cook for a good little while on top of the stove. And what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna hit it with a little bit of pepper just for now. And if it needs something at the end, I can go ahead and do that. You can always add seasoning too, but once you put it in there, you can't get it out. While we were off camera, I did add about 1.5 cups of water, and I've been letting this cook for about 30 to 35 minutes. Now it's starting to look like it's going together, right? It's not all puffed up and individual. It's actually marrying together. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm just gonna take, this is what we call a pat of butter. This ain't a pat of butter, it's butter. And that's gonna change the whole texture. See? Right before your eyes, the whole texture of this dumpling gravy just changed. And I did hit it with a little bit more pepper, and it honestly does not need salt at all. It's picking up the flavor of the chicken, and I'm gonna actually put this in a crock pot after I'm finished. But right now, it's pretty much good to go as is. I'm gonna finish it off by adding a cup of, this is about a cup of frozen peas, and I'm gonna eyeball it because I might not even want to. Well, yeah, I'm gonna put them all in there at the very end. Y'all see how that's starting to come together? And then I'm gonna put that in the crock pot, and I'm pretty much gonna probably cook that until I go to bed. Okay, so now that I've put that in the crock pot, that's gonna cook for probably about another 3, 4, 5, whatever hours. You can't overcook it. You can't make it tough. You can't do all that good stuff. And I'll show you the finished product once it has all come together. But I will say this, if you're not a chicken and dumplings fan, what people have asked me to do, and I have done, is I don't actually use the biscuits. I will use potatoes instead, and then I will put them into a puff pastry. Do the same exact steps, eliminate the biscuits, add potatoes, white potatoes, then you have your own chicken pot pie, and then you can add carrots if you want to as well. So this same recipe can actually do for a homemade chicken pot pie, quick chicken pot pie recipe. So I will show you the finished product, but until then, love you guys. See you later. Bye.